everybody, Mr. Smitty back with another skill builder video where today I'm going to be showing you how to 3D model a spring. The purpose of this series is to introduce you to some new skills that you haven't seen yet in Google SketchUp, and today we're going to be looking at creating arrays with a rotate tool, and we're also going to look at how to curve some edges and reverse faces as we use the follow me tool. Alright, so let's just go ahead and hop right into it. So again, these tutorials will help you if you're interested in mechanical engineering, 3D modeling, 3D printing, 3D design, basically anything where you want to create your own part models. All right, and today we're going to look at a spring. So let's start by going to create new once we're in our Google SketchUp for Schools, and we're going to do feet and inches. All right, so our Google SketchUp for Schools will pull up, and we have Temple Grandin here. So I'm going to click on her and click delete just to give us a nice clean workspace. Go ahead and take the time at the top, guys, real quick. Just go ahead and save so that way you don't lose your file. So, I'm just going to call mine, this is going to be spiral, spring video, All right, and then save. That way you just don't lose your work while you're actually going. All right, so now I'm going to start. So when we think about a spring, its foundation is actually a circle that then just has a helix spiraling up. So as we start this, we're going to begin with a circle. So grab your circle tool and go to the origin. All right, in this video, dimensions aren't really going to matter. We are just basically learning the tools, so we're sculpting or modeling. But I do want to start with a good foundation, so I want everyone to make their circle 12-inch radius. So I'm going to type 12 and then click enter. So down here you can see that the radius is 12, so our diameter is 24. All right, so this circle is actually a series of line segments, and I need to know how many segments, because I'm going to create a geometry and then use that to create an array around this circle. So if I click on the line, so the blue line is highlighted, and I go over here, it'll show me that this is actually 24 separate line segments that have come together to make a circle. So I'm going to take my line tool, and I'm going to rotate where I'm basically facing this green axis, because I kind of want to work off the green axis today. All right, so I'm going to zoom in, and I'm going to find this first endpoint, which is right here on the green axis, but I want to actually move 1 over. So I went to the endpoint that's to the right of the green axis, and I'm going to draw a blue vertical line and come back down and connect to that first endpoint we looked at. All right, so once you've done that, you should have this drawn, this geometry. I'm going to now take my eraser tool and delete the vertical line that I drew. So now this gives me my diagonal geometry that I'm going to use to create an array for my helix. All right, so now that you have that, you're going to select the line, like so. Grab your rotate tool, and we're going to do a rotate copy. All right, so line's still selected, so line is blue. I want you to click on the origin, and then come down with your green dotted line, and click on the endpoint where that is. All right, here's my issue. I'm moving it. That's not what I want. All right, I forgot to hit Control to toggle the copy. So again, before I click the origin, all right, so again, if you click on your line, grab your rotate tool, then press Control to toggle on the copy. Now I know I'm going to make a copy and not move it. All right, see, there you go. There's my copy. All right, so I'm going to move it over to that next green endpoint, and I'm going to click. Now, don't touch anything. All right, after you've done this click to make your copy, if you type X23 on the keyboard and press enter, it'll make 23 more copies of that along those endpoints. All right, so that's why it was important for us to go look at how many segments we have so we knew how many of these lines to actually copy. So at this point, I've got kind of the basis for the helix I'm going to draw. All right, so now it's just playing the copy and creating an array game. All right, so we need to select our geometries for the copy. So I'm going to do what's called a right to left selection click, and that's this dotted box. So if you notice, if you go left to right, you get a solid box. If you go right to left, you get a dotted box. I'm going to position my camera where I'm kind of straight on with everything, and then I'm going to go right to left, but only touch the lines, and that way it selects all the blue lines. All right. Now that I have my blue lines selected, I'm going to rotate back where I'm facing this green axis, and I'm going to use the Move tool to make copies, just like we've always done. So I have my Move tool, my blue lines are selected, I press Control on the keyboard to copy, then I'm going to grab the bottom here, and I'm going to move it straight up and attach it on top, and then click. Don't touch anything. All right, now that I've clicked, I've made a copy on top of our existing geometry, but now I can do an array by typing X9, enter, and it'll do that same copy 9 more times. All right, so now I've created this really cool looking helix. So this helix is going to kind of be our, I guess, roadmap for our spring. So really, I'm just worried about one of these lines that is spiraling in this helix. So I need to figure out how I can get just one. If I triple click a line, I get the whole thing. And that's because it's all connected to this circle at the bottom. So I'm going to grab my eraser tool, and I'm going to delete a line on each side of one of these. I'm actually going to do this one that's connected to the green axis here. So delete there and there. All right, so now I have a line that's by itself. So if I triple click this line, you can now see that that line is spiraling inside of my my helix here. Unfortunately, I'm now seeing that it didn't really wrap as much as I wanted. All right, so I just Controlled Z backwards till I'm at this point, and I need to redo the array so that it's a lot bigger, because my diagonal line here is not, it doesn't have a lot of diagonal to it, so I have to actually redo this and do more arrays than I originally did. All right, so I'm going to highlight that one. Well, actually, I got to highlight all of them. So bottom left click, like so. That didn't work. Got to look straight on. Like this. Move tool, control click, move up. Once I clicked, I do X, and I'm going to do 24 this time. All right, and see if maybe that has given me enough for it to spiral a couple times. All right. So again, so that I can see it by itself, I grab my eraser and I delete on each side. Now I triple click, and I can see that, yeah, I've got a good spiral here. All right, so the larger the array that you create, the more spiral. So again, if I want to do it again, Control Z, Z to here. I face it. I do the highlight click. I grab my Move tool, press Control to copy. I move it straight up, and let's do times 50. All right, so we made 50 copies of that, so we have this tall helix now. All right, grab my eraser tool, come to the bottom, erase on each side, triple click. Okay, so now I can see that that's a nice little spring there. All right, you can see the full wave. All right, but I want just that. I want just that spiral. I want to get rid of the rest of these. So what I need to do is I need to, now that I've selected it, I need to right click and make a group. So now I have that as a group, and then the rest of these are not in a group. So if I drag click the entire thing, well, actually I could probably, well, there we go. Drag click the entire thing, but then hold Control Shift to subtract click this one that's in a group and click delete. I get just that spiral. All right, so now I've got my spiral that's going to be my spring. And what I can do now is I can go and grab my scale tool and actually come in here, grab it right in the middle, and I can scale that down. Alright. Okay, it's a pretty good looking thing. You know, if I want it to be even bigger, I could highlight the whole thing, grab my move tool here, press Control to copy, and make a copy, and add that onto the top. If I want it even bigger, press Control to copy, click it again, add one more. Alright, so that's how you can make your spring bigger. But now let's actually give our spring some depth here. Alright, let's make it a solid. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our circle tool and we're just going to treat it just like a normal follow me. Alright, so I want to rotate where I can see the end of this so I can get the red axis, and I'm going to draw a circle on the tip there. Alright, to help us actually get an outside model, you need to right click and go to reverse faces here, and notice my circle changed from gray to white. Alright, so it's gray, which means we're actually seeing inside of material, but we want outside material. So we right click and we do reverse faces, and there we go. It is just flipped. The gray's on the inside, the white's on the outside. Alright, so I'm going to triple click this. Oh, yeah, triple click this. There we go. Single click that, I guess. Then go use the follow me tool. So again, follow me. So I missed a step, guys, so check me out. You need to, because this is a group, you have to do one of two things. Either right click and explode so that it's not a group, or if it is still a group, you have to double click on it to edit it. Alright, y'all are more familiar with us double clicking. So I'm going to double click and edit. Now I draw that circle. Alright, so I'm going to come over here, draw my circle on the edge. I'm going to right click to reverse faces. And now I'm going to use the follow me. So I'm going to triple click that line. Then use the follow me on that. Notice my computer is super frozen because it's going to take a minute. A little worried about y'all school computers at this moment, but just be patient. It's going to take a minute to run that follow me. Alright, so as y'all can see here, we now have our spring. Alright, it's a pretty cool looking spring. It is segmented. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to triple click the whole thing. And if you go over here to, let me find it. There we go. You're going to go to the eyeglasses. Alright, so display. And if you scroll down, there's one called Soften Coplanar Edges. You're going to click it and then unclick it, and it'll try to soften all these edges for you. Alright, we can also go in here and hide anything else you want to hide. Alright, we can turn on hidden geometries if we want. Alright, but that softened the edges. Alright, so it still looks a little rough even though we have softened the edges. So I'm going to show you one more skill you can use. So I'm going to hide this menu. I want you to grab your move tool, and I'm actually going to right click and explode this now. Alright, so let it explode. Alright, now I'm going to triple click this and I'm going to move it. Alright, so what I've done, alright, make sure you get a red dotted line so it's on the same parallel plane. What I've done is I've created this spring, but now that I've ungrouped it from its original geometry, I can now just make another spring here. So I'm going to show you something called the Weld Tool. And what it'll do is it'll weld my lines together to allow for smooth curved. Alright, so we're going to go through this process one more time, but we're going to weld first. So triple click on this to highlight it all, and then right click and go to weld edges. And what that does is it actually does a weld, kind of like a real life metal weld, and it welds all our lines together. So now if we go in here and we draw our circle on here, that's not what I want. I want a red circle. There we go. Draw our circle on there. Remember, reverse the face because I want it to be white on the outside. So I right click on the face, reverse face. See how that's white? That's gray. Alright, so now I click my line, click my follow me and click. Be patient, follow me's working. Boom. Alright, so now I've got a smooth edge because we welded our lines together before we did this. Alright, and this one's a little thicker because I also drew my circle bigger. Alright, so these two examples of springs here. Again, if you want to use your move tool, you can move this one off now, and I could create a third. Maybe for this last one, maybe I want to create a hollowed out spring. Not really sure what you would, that's a little big. Not really sure what you'd use a hollowed out spring for, but, I'm actually just going to click and delete. Alright, so this is still welded together. I'm going to right click on this reverse face so that it's white. Now I'm going to triple click that. Grab my follow me, click on that. Let it work, let it work, let it work. It's doing all the math, all the calculations. Hopefully I don't crash my computer, and I really hope yours doesn't crash either doing this. But just be patient with it, alright? So now I've created 3 different types of springs: a smooth spring, a spring that still has its segments, and finally a hollow spring, alright? And that's just a little bit about using various skills in Google SketchUp. Just hoping to help you build some more of your skills. That is it for this video. When you finish, screenshot it, submit it in It's Learning, and I will be back with another video later. As always, I appreciate any support you can give me, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.